What's going on, everyone? We got a lot to talk about in this video. Starting off with sales reports from Matt Piscatella this morning. This recently just went up not too long ago. As we see, Nintendo is number one. As I've been telling people, they're going to keep dominating. The only way PlayStation is going to keep up is if they start dropping the price. The same thing happened with the Switch 1. It's kind of going to start happening again, except this time Nintendo's going to be getting more third-party share, and Sony's going to be getting scared. Now, there was a article I want to talk about, but I didn't have my internet up. As you know, stuff was going on, but there's a lot to talk about in this video, starting with this and then going back to this. PlayStation CEO pushed through price cutting in Japan after seeing system slump against Switch 2. As I've been telling people, Nintendo's coming to dominate. A lot of people are saying, oh, they're not competition to Sony. No, I don't want to hear that. Trust me. Not after them coming out and admitting that they're dropping the price by a significant amount in Japan to $350. And Nishino coming out and admitting that, oh, I want to get some market share back in Japan. It's like, well, you don't betray Japan like that and think that they're going to just turn back and smile at you. That's not how they work. Not only that, but this is a funny thing because, you know, Sony used to have Final Fantasy to themselves, Resident Evil to themselves, and all these games that you know that are specifically on there outside of the Nintendo ecosystem. But now Nintendo's getting all of that, and third-party rasterization is hitting a bigger wall more than ever. So let's think about this, guys. Sony knows that Microsoft is done. There's no competition for them anymore. And their eyes open more towards the Nintendo to start to realize that, yeah, you know what? They've just been secretly dominating everything while we probably ignored Japan, thought they weren't competition. Yeah, you thought that, but there was also an ego projection of not admitting that they're beating you in first party and they're beating you in hardware sales. And it was about power. I remember them saying dumb stuff like that. So now you have over here Sony doing everything in their power to try to compete with Nintendo. You want to know what else happened? You get $170 off in Europe all last month. Yes, and they have that going on to combat Switch 2 Pokemon launch. Sony is definitely worried about Nintendo. And what this means is that this company, this whole time, can easily do that because you want to know what? Historically, Nintendo was the only console manufacturer to ever make a profit off of consoles. Sony always took a loss, but you made up for it in other factors, now more than ever with all these microtransactions. So all these people sitting over here saying that Nintendo wasn't competition, Nintendo has kiddie games, to me, you're just a moron and you don't know what you're talking about. These are people with small brains. They just don't understand how the bigger picture works. Now Sony themselves has to come out and tell you that, yeah, Nintendo's a problem. And we're worried about them big time, and they're dominating more than us, and we don't like that. And they're absolutely destroying them in Japan. I don't know if you guys know, but let's go ahead and bring up this right over here too. Look, these sales just came up recently. Famitsu sales, right? We're going to go right to them. Look at this today. Famitsu sales, all right? So you got, you know, this game, Momotaro, then Tetsu, it always dominates in Japan. But let's go down to hardware sales. Are we ready? Guys, look. We're going to talk about this answer counter. We're going to go worldwide. Switch 2, 101,549 units. Switch OLED, 10,700. Switch Lite, almost 9,000. Switch 1, 3,000. PlayStation, 3,000. Do we see this? Look how much Nintendo is dominating. That's like 90% market share. Because you got to add in this too. This all accumulates to the totality. One little aspect of the Switch is right there with the PS5. Sure, the pros are 20,000 because they're putting stuff on sale, but you kind of get the idea here. This bothers Sony big time because this accumulates to worldwide totality reports. Nintendo's destroying, and they want to do something about that, right? They're scared of them. If we go over here to down here, Nishino himself says, who's Japanese and has replaced British leader Jim Ryan, won't go down without a fight. Nintendo to erode its market share. You know what? This is naive, though. You see, this is the arrogance of Sony. They're thinking that they're going to come in there and do that. It's like, that's not the way Japan works, and it's a lot more than that. You don't have a handheld, dude. That's not how that works, and they're not really interested in a portal like that. But this is what I'm saying. Like, if you take a look at this, it gives you the idea that Nintendo bothers them big time. They are serious competition, and they're getting their third-party market share. They're going to get Call of Duty market share, though that last one was garbage. And I don't think they care about that. But that's not the point. The point is that they're getting the games you thought they wouldn't be getting, even Resident Evil Requiem. And in Japan, they're going to take that handheld portable experience, and a lot of other people too, over just only being able to play it on a television experience, because that's just not the way only anymore. Definitely when you're saying how mobile is doing and all that as well too. So we'll get back to this in a second, but going back over, it gives you the idea that Nintendo's serious competition. Everything I've been telling you, I've been right about. I have. Now you see what I'm talking about. So Nintendo Switch is number 1 last month with Pokemon launch. PlayStation is number 2 with a 22% drop. Xbox is number 3, obviously, with a 37% drop. I don't know how you keep dropping down. I mean, you can't get any worse than that. Battlefield 6, number 1. Pokemon Legends, number 2, but that's because Nintendo doesn't give digital. And Ghost of Yotei is still hanging in there. All that hate people were talking about. Well, what's going on here? So as we see right here, Switch 2 hardware were among the drives of total projected U.S. spending on video game hardware content and accessories, reaching $4.9 billion along with Battlefield and mobile. In October, growing 3%. See, it's still growing with Xbox out again. Like I'm saying, that's how much Nintendo dominates and makes up for things. Remember I said they're going to boost the entire industry? I wasn't making this up. I was telling you the truth. Now you see that. Yeah, AGN's not making up anything. He knows what he's talking about. He's just been off the camera for a while. Going down here, Pokemon Legends is number 2, but here's the problem. Nintendo does not give out digital. Otherwise, I think that would be number 1. But they're both doing well, and this is multi-platform. You see what I mean? This is on one platform. That's how dominant they are. Yeah, it's their exclusives and their hybrid aspect and the genius creation of that. The Switch design is the greatest design of all time. You can't outdo it, so the only thing you're going to do is imitate it. Or try to imitate it and put better specs there, which you see Western society doing. And the reason why it is not because of just the design, but because of the idea of I always have your time too, whether you're in the living room or whether you're on the go, bro. You know what I mean? So you've seen people trying to imitate that. Oh, I don't only want to be on the living room and on the screen on my monitor. I also want to be off the screen. And let's all imitate Nintendo, but let's grift against them too, though. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, okay. I mean, when you start imitating somebody, what does that say? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Yeah, they're better than you. It's okay. Not that hard to realize. Because if you were all that, then you would be leading the way, dominating, and people would start imitating you. But we don't see those companies doing that. Definitely Sony and them. No, you're imitating Nintendo, and they opened up the doorway again. And this is not being a fanboy. This is a fact, because this is exactly what's happening. So, yeah, all that stuff against me. Once again, what's going on? The company that beat the hell out of Microsoft is now dropping their price massively multiple times to combat against Nintendo. Look, it's $170 off PlayStation 5 bundle in Europe. And then they're doing the price drops now. And then you got this guy over here coming almost $200 off in Japan. Not only did you get $170, you're getting 2 months of PlayStation Plus Premium. That's like 2 years of Game Pass. That's how worried they are about Nintendo. It's actually funny. Not that I'm mad at this, because guess what? People are getting better deals. And on top of that, you're being made aware of that Sony could have been giving you these deals while they were winning. They won the championship and weren't doing it. Nintendo had to come in. So guess what? Nintendo is helping you get something more cheaper now. They're helping PlayStation become more cheaper, because that's what real good competition is going to do. But Nintendo's not dropping anything, because what you gonna make them do? Nobody can beat them. They won, like, you know. And I like that. At least Porter Rock admitted that a while ago. It's like, Nintendo won then. He's like, yeah, they did. Everybody realized that a while ago. You know what I mean? Except for the people that are still sleeping on it. It's like, no. What do you mean? It's over. It really is. And now there is a interesting game between PlayStation versus Nintendo, obviously. But Sony's not going to get that market share back in Japan like they think. It may help them a bit, but Nintendo is going to still slaughter. And there's nothing you can do about that, because it's over. You took too long, and don't try to jump ship and say, oh, you know, Japan, we care about you. No, you don't. You just only care about your vanity and your ego. And now you want to act like you care about Japan. They're not going to move for that, because they already know who cared about them and who didn't abandon them. Nintendo made that cheaper model. You imitated them. See, this is, once again, that's their idea. Handheld, you imitated them. That's their idea. Improve your first party, you imitated them. That's their idea. Want to sell those aspects like that and improve your first party and your in-house and your identity? Start maybe pulling games off of Steam and putting PlayStation stuff on. Yeah, you're imitating them within their own ecosystem. Steam's doing the same thing. But you want to know what? You want to know what, though? They're doing it. You see what I mean? And when you do that, you admit defeat. But you're going to give people better deals. Just admit it, dude. You admit defeat because you can't do it and you can't outdo them. That's the reality. They won. So yeah, let's stop crying about that. But very good results are for Battlefield 6. Ghost of Yote's hanging in there as well. Outer Worlds 2 charted number 7. I can't say that's bad. Ninja Gaiden 4, that's disappointing. I wish I would have done more. But going down, 2025 year to date, the top 20 best-selling premium games, US dollar sales, physical and digital from digital sales, sharing publishing, excluding add-on content. Battlefield 6 at number 1, which obviously that makes sense considering what the hell's going on there. And then going down, hardware, video game hardware spending in October grew 36%. Microsoft's out the picture. Where do you think they came from? At 36%. 351 million increase, but yet Xbox is out the picture. They weren't selling that much anyways. That's Nintendo. Switch 2 was again able to offset declines across Switch, Series, and PlayStation, all dropping down. This makes sense though. Your console came out. No, nobody's buying that anymore. But Nintendo is boosting the market. They're making the video game industry healthy. Third-party publishers are making more money now. And now they're able to reach into the Japanese market and tap into that and get their sales over there. How is that not good? That means more money for the developers you care about, third party. They're going to be able to make more games and support and optimize their games more. If you're hating on that, then you're just remedial to me. Okay, hardware. Switch 2 sold 328,000 units in October, 68% ahead of the sales of the original Switch line, so it's doing better. And it's 3% ahead of PlayStation 4's previous record velocity, ahead of the record velocity. October spending on Asus PC portable hardware devices increased by 4.8 times compared to a year ago. It's now 30% higher year to date. That's not really saying anything because it doesn't sell anything. But the fact that he's including that in, hey man, that's cool. October video game content grew by 1%. 4.4 billion mobile spending, 10%. 9% increase in subscription, which makes sense since people are now subscribing more to Nintendo as well too. Plus that going on too as well. October video game spending, as we saw right here. Battlefield 6 debuted as the best-selling game of 2025. But the interesting thing about this is that Pokemon doesn't have digital. Because watch this right here. Congratulations, though, to Battlefield because it's dominating Call of Duty. And them talking about they're not worried about it's too big to fail. Well, you took a big dump down. Sorry, and Battlefield dumped on you. What are you going to do about it? Pokemon Legends ZA ranked number 2 overall during October and was the month's best-selling game on Nintendo platforms. It launched as 2025's best-selling physical game. That month, well, you had all those games having all those other months to sell. It beat it in physical that month alone. I don't know what else to tell you. It's bigger than ever. Ghost of Yote number 3, best-selling game overall, and currently ranks, you know, for PlayStation. That's actually pretty good. And it's ranking number 10. Ghost of Yote is third on PlayStation's year-to-date best-selling charts, behind 2K26 and Battlefield, which actually makes sense. So we get the idea here. Not only is Nintendo dominating physical, which is funny because they're still preserving it, but they did it by launching way later in the year. It just gives you the idea about not just hardware domination, but software domination and identity. And having a hybrid aspect and consistently being able to have your time on the screen in the living room, off the screen in the living room, consistently. And as it says right here, best-selling physical game of the year. Imagine if it launched at the beginning of the year. You see what I mean? So that's something to think about, guys, because it's not an accident here. We go down here, we see what Sony's worried about. 101,000 in Japan. Huge numbers. And it's going to be going like that for the rest of the year and even raise up more. Kirby just launched, by the way, too. They have tons of games. Let's go over here right now, right? So Sony has introduced a Japan only, lowered the PlayStation 5 from 49,000 to 322. Reportedly approved by President Hideaki Nishino to directly combat the massive success of Nintendo Switch 2. This move, which includes region locking and Japanese language only, aims to prevent scalping, which is, shut up, and reverse PlayStation's declining market share in its home country. A shift from previous leadership focus on global markets. So this guy, at least this guy's smart though, and he realized things that these other morons like Jim Ryan did not realize because they cut off communication from Japan last generation, if you didn't know that, and earlier in the year, when you had all that dumb stuff going on with the gas rush. And what ended up happening, they suffered. So I have to say, this guy at least has some brains to realize that. Like it says right here, the model is a direct response to Nintendo. Sony is going at Nintendo now. So it is PlayStation versus Nintendo to a certain degree, but they're not going to win. Nintendo already won, but they're trying to go at them and cut into their share at least. Okay. But what you're doing is you're admitting that you could have gave people good deals the whole time. Same thing with Microsoft. As I told you guys, they could have been dropping the prices. The only reason they're doing that is because they feel like they can get away with it. And Microsoft doesn't care more than both of them because they're a $4 trillion company and they care about AI feed and they're not a gaming company. So that's their heart and soul. Well, they don't have a heart, but that's their mental focus. We're not going to say heart because they don't have one. And we're not going to say soul because they don't have one, just like Activision. So there we have it. Now you guys get the idea of what's going on the market here and the Nintendo domination starting. And I'm telling you, it's just getting started. If you think this is it, I promise you, it's about to get more insane. But this is good, though, because things are about to get spicy. If you want to see PlayStation get dominated, just watch. Nintendo's about to do it. And I've been telling you guys, I love PlayStation 2, but we have to speak the truth over here. And this is just, like I said, neutrally speaking. Sony is not better than Nintendo. Everybody knows this. Nintendo is the best and they're number one. And this is proven by what Sony just said. They just admitted defeat to them and admitted that they have to do so many deals to be able to stay relevant and combat them. As I was telling people, as Sony was beating the hell out of Microsoft, Nintendo was beating Sony. So that's why I was like, man, I do not want to hear nothing about no Xbox guy coming to Nintendo. You can't even beat Sony, and Sony absolutely destroyed you completely. Plus, they destroyed themselves, and Nintendo beat Sony. So they're in a whole nother bracket way away from you. This is the way it always worked. But a lot of people were just so caught up and in a bubble against PlayStation versus Xbox only, just like in the 360 era. They weren't aware that Nintendo had a 256 million install base. They've been doing it. And I've been having people like Tripster and all these dumbasses like J-Dub have to say it. They say dumb stuff. I'm like, dude, shut up. You don't know the gaming industry. You're an idiot. And you sit there and you say dumb stuff. Porterrock is smart. He's not like that. But all those other guys, just please shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Not all of them. Some of them know what they're talking about. But it's like, if you think Donkey Kong is a kiddie game and 1080p, you're saying all this nonsense, but once again, you're not understanding that is not what's going to win the gaming industry. That's why Sony is surrendering to them. So know what you're talking about before you open your mouth. I have to call it out because you don't know what you're talking about. Once again, Nintendo is king. Number 2 is PlayStation, then Steam, then Xbox, because you don't give any first-party games, and now you're going to become worse than them by the prices that you're choosing, but because you're going to launch a game now, finally, and after 20 years. Sorry, no, it's pathetic. Later, y'all, as people want to steal a bunch of games. Peace. Stay keeping it real.